All right, grade 8, we're going to be looking at radicals today. A radical, of course, is this symbol right over here. We can also use it to mean the word square root. So, radical 2. So, the basic concept here is that if we're going to measure the perimeter of a square here, right, trying to figure it out, and so we have the two sides there being the square root of 2. Really, if we work our way around, it's 2 and 2. So it's 4 times the square root of 2. That hopefully makes sense, right? Because we have basically square root of 2 plus square root of 2 plus square root of 2 plus square root of 2. So that hopefully makes sense. We just got 4 of them, so it's 4 times the square root of 2. That's how we'd find the perimeter of something. That's the basic concept over there. So they try to make it a little bit more complicated when we grab something that's not maybe square. So what would we have then if we had, say, this side was the length of 3 times the square root of 2, and this one here would be 2 times the square root of 2. So what would that be? Well, this side would be 3 to the square root of 2, and this side would be 2 to the square root of 2. So essentially what we have is 3, 5, 8, 10. 10 times the square root of 2. And that's how you would find out your perimeter. So you just work your way around it and add that to find your length. So that's how you would find perimeter. Okay, so let's go to the practice set, and hopefully that'll make a little bit more sense as we work our way through the practice set. If we're looking at A, and we have, say, the perimeter here, it's very similar to the one that I just showed you, where it's 3 times the square root of 3 for the one side and 2 times the square root of 3 for the other side. It's the same basic concept as what I've shown you, except I had 2's in there. So we have 3, 5, 8, 10, 10 to the square root of 3 units. And then it says, and what would the area be? Well, the area is a little bit different, right? Because we've always learned that area is base times height. So our perimeter is this. So now let's see how that would work if we put those numbers in here. We have 3 times the square root of 3 times, now we're not adding, 2 times the square root of 3, right? And I'll put the little times sign right in the middle there. So easiest way to do it is resort. So you have 3 times 2 times, and we can put both radicals underneath there, 3 times 3. And now you'll notice something. We actually have a square there. So that would actually equal 3 times 2 times 3, which is 6 times 3, which is 18 units squared. All right, so the next one is B. So let's go find our perimeter around this one. So I'm going to draw B because it's a bit of a different one for us to work with. Okay. Let's try to get a straight line there. Just might look better. I'm not so lucky today. Okay, so now we have this square here. It's 2 on this side, square root of 5 here. Okay, so if we actually look at, we need to find this one in order to find the perimeter. So then we go Pythagorean's theorem. It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So we know that it's 5 square root of 5 squared plus 2 squared equals c squared, which will equal 5 plus 4 equals 9. We have to square root that, so we get an answer of 3. So this side is going to be 3. So now we add that up, right? So our perimeter is 5 plus 2 plus 3. So our perimeter is, so oops, let's try writing it neat here. Perimeter is 5 plus the square root of 5. All right, now we got to find the area of this one. Well, same thing. You know how to find the area of a triangle is base times height divided by 2. And the only way you can find the height is if you actually flip that triangle over, so this is the base. So you're going to have 2 times the square root of 5 divided by 2. So your area then is going to be, because you can cancel those out, 5 units squared. Hopefully that made sense. Now C is asking us to draw one of these guys. So it says, what is the perimeter and area of a square whose vertices with vertices at 2, 0, 0, 2, negative 2, 0, and 0, negative 2. So let's just put a little XY axis here. Okay, so here we go. 2 and we have 2 and 0. So 2 and 0 is right there. We have 0 and 2. It's right there. And we have negative 2 and 0. So there's our square. So here's what we're looking at here. Let's just go put that here. We've drawn, well, kind of drawn. Let's try to make this neat. There and there. So you'll see that it's a square. So we have to do our Pythagorean theorem, which is 2 squared plus 2 squared equals that c squared. So we get it that this is going to equal 8 equals c squared, which means that we have the square root of 8 as our side length, right? So we can simplify that one out because our side length is actually going to be the square root of 8, which equals 2 times 2 times 2 under a square root, which is actually 4 times the square root, 2 times the square root of 2. 2 times the square root of 2. Right? That's the easier way to write it, or that's the way to write it. But that happens 4 times, right? So we have 2, 4, 6, 8. So the answer will be 8 times the square root of 2. That's your perimeter. All right, so let's go work at our area. So our area equals base times height. Again, our base is 2 times the square root of 2, and height is 2 times the square root of 2. Again, we simplify that to be 2 times 2. We use these 2's, and then we put our square roots underneath. So we wind up finding out that it's 2 times 2 times 2, and then that gives us an answer of 8. So our answer is 8 units. Okay, hopefully that made sense. Grade 8. Let's move to the next one. That was C. Let's move to D. So D is nicely drawn out for you. You're going to see that it is a square as well, but it's a slightly different size. The one side is 2. So I'll draw just a short part to show you how that is. Your square is going to go along those diagonals there. So what you're going to see is that the different lengths, to figure out that length of the square, you need to put your Pythagorean theorem in there. And this is 2, this is 1, right? So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. What you're going to find out is that you have 2 squared, 2 squared plus 1 squared equals c squared, and that would be 5 equals c squared. So c equals the square root of 5. Again, they're asking you the same concept. If you're going to go around that whole square, right? If you're going to go around that whole square that they have shown in that picture there, I'm trying to draw this out right. Right? You have 5, so it's 4 over 5, because it's 4 times the square root of 5. That's your perimeter, right? And then to find your area, it's base times height again, which is the square root of 5 times the square root of 5. Now, if you figure that out, you can put that under an umbrella, which is the square root of 25, which is 5 units squared. And now we have that completely figured out. So, grade 8, I would hop on Meet if you have a chance, especially to ask questions. Your marks are coming in pretty nice. Most of you are being faithful with it. That's good. Make sure you do all of the evens for this assignment, and submit your marks